Hello there, everybody. Once again, this is Dax. I certainly hope that your life is treating you well, that things are going nicely for you. As for me, I am currently staying at a relative's house. I'm in another state right now, and I'm hanging out in the guest room before I go to bed for the night, so I figured I'd record off one of these. It is a very strange room. It's a comfortable room, but it's a strange room. It's kind of a split level room, so you've got a room that, on one side you've got stairs going down, and on another side you've got stairs going up. So it's like a tri-level, split level room. And the first level where you first come in is a bathroom. And if you step into the downstairs, you've got a utility room and a shower, and if you step upstairs, there's a bed for guests to sleep at. So I am sitting in a three-leveled room with a bed, a toilet, a sink, a shower, and a washing machine, all in this one room. It is interesting. At the same time, I'm rather enjoying it. I actually am getting a lot more privacy here than I am at home. That's one of the reasons why most of my recordings are done out on my evening walks, is because when I'm in my house, I just don't receive much privacy at all. But here I am, got a little bit of privacy, at least for one night. It's a beautiful part of the world, up in the mountains right now. I was actually going to go outside and walk around the mountains while I recorded this video. But then it occurred to me, this is not my house, which means I do not have a key to the door, which means I could very easily be locked outside. So I decided just to go to the guest room and record this off before bed. I went to see a play tonight, and in this play there was an angel. And I like angels. Angels are interesting. Have you ever met someone and gotten advice from them and had the sneaking suspicion that they were an angel? Like they were an angel in disguise, putting on the appearance of a human being, but well, if they are a messenger from God, well, easily enough that makes them an angel. All that the term angel means is a messenger from God, so I suppose that if you're bringing a message from God, then yes, you are an angel. You don't have to be a mystical being with wings and in direct line service to God. You just have to be delivering a message. But yeah, I had an experience like this once when I was in my early 20s. And I was feeling really lonely and depressed at the time. It happens. Sometimes you just feel lonely. Sometimes you just feel depressed. And if you don't have the ability to regulate your emotions a little better, then yeah, you're going to be at the mercy of those emotions. And so my loneliness really had me upset. And I was living in some very strange living conditions at the time, not nearly as weird as a room with a bed, a toilet, a sink, and a shower in it, but um, yeah, I lived in the back room of an art studio where I was working. And because it was in an art studio, it wasn't in a residential district where I was living. It was right there on one of the main drags of this city that I was living in. And about two doors down from where I was living, there was a bar. And as you probably already know about me, I don't like alcohol. Never have. And I don't really like bars either. I will sometimes go into a bar just simply to people watch, but I've never had any desire to go into a bar and drink. But I was feeling really lonely this night. And there was this bar 2 doors down from where I was at. And so I said, fuck it. I'm going to go to that bar. And I went in there, and let's just say that the bar wasn't doing anything to improve my mood. I wasn't feeling any better by what was going on inside the bar. But there was one man there in the bar. He was middle-aged, African American, a little bit portly. He wasn't overweight by any stretch of the imagination, but he wasn't thin either. He was a little portly, but he just looked directly at me. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even remember what he said to me. But he said something to me, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I just had the weirdest sensation that this guy was an angel. So anyway, I walked out of the bar, went back to the art studio, went back to the room in back where I was living at the time, and still lonely, but I was in a much better mood now. But yeah, I've always wondered about that. I've always wondered if he was really an angel. And I wonder if any of you out there listening have had a similar experience. Have you ever just had someone, some stranger, just tell you exactly what you needed to hear? Or it doesn't even need to be that. Have you just ever had an experience with someone that you felt was an angel? Angels are interesting beings. I have never, to my knowledge, met an angel. I mean, unless this guy at the bar was actually an angel in disguise, then no, I've never had a real angel experience. I've never really seen angels in my meditations. But then again, I've never really targeted a meeting with an angel in my meditations. Every time I've meditated and tried to meet someone, it was always someone else that I was targeting. It was always an extraterrestrial or an elemental. Don't know why I've never specifically targeted an angel to meet, but I guess I haven't. Angels are interesting, though. One of the things that I find interesting, but also a little bit frightening, is that everyone's favorite angel seems to be Michael, or Michael. Michael, I suppose, would be the actual pronunciation of his name. Michael, Archangel. The reason why this is kind of frightening to me is because Michael, he's a warrior angel. Leave it to humans to make the warrior their favorite. Angels supposedly, anyone who knows anything about the subject knows that what I'm about to say isn't really true. But, supposedly angels are supposed to be about love and kindness. We, being human beings, we say, fuck the love and kindness. We want the angel that kicks ass. We want Michael to be our favorite. We're a warrior society. We place great value on violence. We're Klingons. Either that or Romulans. Interesting thing about the Star Trek references, if you take a look at who and what we are, and you compare us to a Star Trek race, the one race that we are not are the Earthlings. We are like the Klingons because we are so warlike. We are like the Romulans because we are so imperialistic. We're like the Ferengi because we're materialistic and greedy. But the race that we are not like are the Star Trek humans, because those people have become better than we currently are. We could become better if we wanted to. If we decided that we wanted to stop fighting wars with ourselves. if we decided that we wanted to end disease, if we decided that our primary purpose was to learn and to explore, then yes, we could become the human species of Star Trek. But as it is, no, we're more like all the bad guys. And I think that's why Michael or Mikhail Archangel is our favorite. You know, he doesn't sit around being good. He goes out and wields a sword and chops it at other angels. I'm not saying that Mikhail is a bad guy. I mean, he's one of the archangels of God. An archangel, by his very definition, is the leader of an entire choir. So God must think rather highly of him to put him in charge of such a thing. Of course, you know, Satan used to be an archangel too. Still is, he's just a fallen one. But I think it says a lot about us that our favorite angel as a people seems to be Mikhail. I mean, we didn't choose Gabriel to be our favorite. We did not choose Raphael to be our favorite. We did not even choose Archangel Metatron to be our favorite. No, we as a culture, our favorite is Mikhail, the warrior, because we like people who kick ass. If Arnold Schwarzenegger was an angel, why, he'd be Mikhail. If Rambo was an archangel, he would be Mikhail, or at least one of the angels in his choir. And that's what we as a people like. We don't like the Gandhis of the world. We like the Rambos of the world. We are a very violent people. Very violent. And that's the reason why we live in such a violent, frightening world. It's our fault. The world is not violent and frightening on its own, at least not to the degree that we've made it. I mean, yes, in nature, there are animals that are predators and animals that are prey. But even the prey, they do not live in a perpetual state of fear. There's the occasional danger. The danger might take them, it might not, and if it doesn't, well, they're on their way. It took the human race to bring war to the world. It took the human race to bring terrorism to the world. And the real kicker is the world isn't really even very scary. We just use television to fill our minds with these scary images because we enjoy it. We get a perverse thrill out of the darkness of violence. So yes, you look at what our favorite angel is as a people. It's Mikhail, it's the warrior. You can tell a lot about someone based on what their favorite is. And the reason why I'm saying that Mikhail is our favorite archangel, it's pretty simple really. Ask somebody to name an angel. More people seem to know the name of Mikhail, than they do any other angel. If you pick up a pack of oracle cards, angel-based oracle cards, who's on the most popular card? It's always Mikhail. We humans love Mikhail. John Travolta played Mikhail in a movie. Of course, Christopher Walken played Gabriel in a movie, so... Gabriel Archangel is also an interesting archangel. Actually, what I find most interesting about Gabriel is that people seem to either call him Gabriel or Gabriel, and the people who call him Gabriel seem to be of the opinion that Gabriel is a woman. Makes sense, really, that there would be female archangels. It also makes perfect sense that we as a culture would not be happy with an archangel being a woman, and so we would turn that archangel into a man. So who knows if Gabriel or Gabriel, whichever you choose, who knows if Gabriel is a male or a female? I don't know. I don't have any first-hand experience with Gabriel or Gabriel. I suspect that Gabriel is probably the correct pronunciation of the name. After all, Michael is a modern day alteration of Michael. So Gabriel sounds like it's probably more accurate. Could be completely wrong in that. But I do often wonder, is Gabriel male or female? And of course, in many ways, this is a moot point because angels, you're not talking biology. And ultimately, it's the biology that determines if you're male or female. An angel doesn't have biology. With an angel, you're dealing with what do they consider themselves to be? What kind of energy do they wield? So I don't know if Gabriel is male or female. I wonder exactly what percentage of all the people hearing this recording thinks that I'm committing the ultimate blasphemy right now. Well, I guess that it's up to Gabriel to decide whether or not he/she is offended by what I'm asking. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You can bet that there are a lot of people out there that have decided to choose on Gabriel's behalf to be offended. But guess what? You're not Gabriel the Archangel. You don't have the authority to decide if it's offensive. Only Gabriel does. And Gabriel, being an archangel, is probably beyond something that petty. I like to think that archangels have to be held up to a higher standard. So I like to think that an archangel would not be offended by a simple question like that. Besides, it's important to keep in mind that if Gabriel is a male and he's offended by me asking if he's a woman, then it would be equally offensive if Gabrielle was a female and you go around calling her a man. So, yeah, who's really being more offensive here? I don't know. But it's an honest question for me. Is Gabrielle male or female? I find the seraphim to be interesting. Of course, the seraphim, they are an order of angel. Whenever they're described in the Bible, they're described as being angels with 6 wings, 3 pairs of wings. The bottom pair covers their feet, the top pair covers their eyes, the middle pair is pointed outwards as they fly around, and the seraphim are basically just in the presence of God personally, and they spend all their time singing Holy, Holy, Holy. There was a time when I thought that description was literal. I don't consider it to be that literal of a description anymore. And the reason for this is when I started finding out more about chakras. The throat chakra, the chakra located in the throat, that is the creation chakra. That is the chakra with the power to create something from nothing. When you speak things into existence. And according to the Bible, God did the same thing with creation. God spoke creation into existence. And then you find a description of an order of angels called the seraphim, who are only found in the presence of God Himself, and all they do is sing. I'll bet that they're not really singing. I'll bet that they are creating. Just a guess on my part, of course. It's possible that they really are just singing God's praises. It is possible that God is so egotistical that He needs a bunch of angels to follow Him around and tell Him how great He is. But I'll bet that that's not what this is about at all. I'll bet that God surrounds Himself with fellow creators. And when these seraphim are described as singing God's praises, I'll bet what they're really doing is speaking their creations into existence. Once again, no idea if this is true. No idea whatsoever. Just conjecture on my part. But it is something that it would make more sense to me, at least, if God surrounded himself with creators. If God had have created the seraphim to create. The thing is, I am biased in this, and I'll admit that it colors my vision. My bias is that I do not like the idea of God having low self-esteem. You have to be really low in the self-esteem department to need that much praise. So that's my bias on this subject. The idea that all of the seraphim do is follow God around singing about how great he is. To me, that just sounds like God's got low self-esteem, and I don't like that idea at all. I personally prefer the idea that God is secure enough in his own personal being that he's willing to surround himself with other creators, and that what these other creators, these seraphim, are actually doing is they are using their throat chakras to create more of reality. But that is only an opinion. And as I've just now said, it's a biased opinion. It's biased because I don't like the idea of God having low self-esteem. And to me, so many of the things that people say God says and does just screams low self-esteem to me. Of course, then again, it is important to remember that the Bible was compiled in the year 323 AD. I think it was compiled in 323 AD. It was around the year 320 AD when the Council of Nicaea convened, and they officially decided that Jesus was the Son of God, and they officially decided what books of the Bible would go into the Bible. The interesting thing about the fact that all this happened in the year 320 AD is that that means that there is enough time in between the death of Christ and the foundation of what we know of as being Christianity at the Council of Nicaea. You can take the entire history of the United States as a country, and it fits between those two dates. These people who decided what went into the Bible, they were Roman politicians, and they did not have any kind of first-hand knowledge of Christ. I know that that's not a very popular thought. Many of the people who hear this will probably hate me for it. Well, that's okay. I choose to think of God as having high self-esteem, and a God with high self-esteem is perfectly fine with being questioned. Only a God with low self-esteem is beyond being questioned. Besides, whatever you think of me, God knows that I like him. do 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 do. Yeah, pretty much any time that you start talking about God, you run the risk of pissing people off. And it's because people confuse their egos for God's will. If it's their ego's will, then they decide that it's God's will. And so they do all kinds of things that God has nothing to do with in order to justify their own desires and beliefs. The reason why I bring this up is because it's important to look at yourself. People always want to blame other people for things that they themselves are guilty of. And this is especially true with religion. Just don't lie to yourself about who you are. Jesus did not teach fundamentalist values. Roman politicians who wanted to control the masses 300 years after his death, they're the ones who did that. And as far as patriotism goes, well, you can't be God serving and patriotic at the same time. You have to choose your master. One or the other. You can't have both because they go in conflict with each other. Well, I'm going to call this good for tonight. As always, I love you all, and I did not say the things that I said to piss you off. I said the things that I said to make you think about this stuff. I mean, just think about it. Don't get upset by it. Just think about it. You guys have a very good night. See you around this world. See you in the afterlife. See you in the next world. Have fun.